All right. Many times we learn, about learning. Everybody wants to learn Gemara, learn Gemara, learn Gemara, learn Gemara, 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 Gemara. It's very important. Everything that we learn, everything that we do is based on what we learn in the Gemara. However, sometimes we neglect many other things along the line, and it's very important. Right? Rav Ben Zion Abba Shaul Alav Shalom, the following about regarding Limud HaHalacha. He says in many places the Chazon Ish wrote about the importance of learning halacha. Some of them in the Kovetz Grot, in the collection of his letters that he wrote, he writes the following: Utviot eina b'derech hagmara hi hayesod hayoter chazak belimud halacha. To have a good understanding of when you learn the Gemara, a deep understanding on the halachic matter, that's the basics of understanding the halacha. So that's where we have to start. כי הלומד את השולחן ערוך לבד לא ידע את ההלכה על בוריה. If you're going to learn just the Shulchan Aruch or Kitzur Shulchan Aruch and so on and so forth, of course for men, women don't have time for that. A man needs to learn Gemara as well in order to understand the halacha. But to learn just the halacha straightforward like this, that's good for review, but it's not beneficial to understand. And you see from here, many times when we learn the Gemara, the way we learn the Gemara is, and then you learn the halacha, you actually remember the halachot and the fine-tuning of the halachot. Much better than if we learn the halacha straightforward and we learn it 4, 5, 6 times, you're still forgetting because you haven't labored in it through the Gemara, understanding the processes in which brought us to this halacha as it refers to from the Gemara. For example, there could be 2 different dinim, 2 different laws which would contradict each other. Even though the Acharonim, the later sages, would explain that dispute, in any case, you are not going to appropriately understand that if you did not have a clear understanding of its source in the Gemara and how it evolved from the Gemara. And so on and so forth and further down. Therefore, when you're learning Gemara, you have to look very carefully in the Shakla and Tarya, in the negotiation of the Gemara. How does it come about? And what is the exact text of the Gemara? How is it coming to renew a new concept, a new din? Is it coming to assur something or to be matir something? Is the Gemara going on in the negotiation of the Gemara, the dispute comes to approve someone's opinion or disapproves his opinion? And of course from that we derive the halakha. What is, for example, the external svara? Svara is the common sense of it, let's call it this, or the reason behind it. Without exactly that pasuk, what would be the reason? One of the ways to do so, and to understand Gemara appropriately, is when you are saying, let's say for example, somebody asks a question, somebody in the Gemara asks a question. You need to be able to, in a way, be that person yourself and to find the reasons why he asked that question. What would be the reasons for him to ask the questions? And if there is an answer, what would be the reasons for you? Can you justify it? You being that chacham, that rabbi, would you be able to answer it if that was your answer yourself? Why would you answer this and now I want you to answer the other one? And after you did that, you go to the other opinion and you do the same practice. This is how you understand. But if you just say he said and this one said, and it just goes like this in and out, the way you went in, that's the way it's going to go out. But once you are in a way personally, let's call it, involved with the opinions, with the svarot themselves, you're going to understand the reason behind it. And you're actually going to remember, and you're going to understand the Gemara much better. The whole negotiation of the Gemara is going to be better understood by you. So therefore, when you actually come in Limud HaHalacha, when you're learning the halacha, you might understand, oh, I see. Maran Abed Yosef is posek in this case like Tosfot. Ooh, very interesting. Maran is posek like Tosfot. And the Rama is posek like the Rambam. Oh, and why is that? Because, why is like this? Because Maran really holds that this svara is the svara of this one, and he holds, and so on and so forth, based on the understanding of the Gemara. You understand where they're coming from. You understand why, for example, we have one opinion, two opinion, three opinions in the Shulchan Aruch himself. Where and why did he conclude? Because in the Gemara itself it's not concluded, and on and on and on and on. And why this Rishon said that, on that Rishon said the other. You understand that actually the machloket is based. There's basis to it, not because you said something like we many times say today. You said something, so therefore automatically I have to oppose you. Of course, if you have money and you have power, automatically I have to agree with you, which is not the case in the Gemara. There are reasons why this Chacham holds like this one, this opinion, or this way, and the other one holds the other way. You need to find out the reason why they do so. Don't just say, okay, machloket, yalla, let's move on, let's turn the page. What is the reason behind it? Maya svara. And after you learn ma svara by something, what's the reason behind it? You have to learn the ma'in of kamina between the two. What would derive if I would go with this halacha, aliba to this chacham, according to this rabbi, according to this opinion, what will be the halachic nafkamina? What will be the halachic end result if I go on this path rather than that path? Then you understand. And then you're able to become later on a posek. Sometimes a posek will do, the Shulchan Aruch said something, but he'll posek something else for a case, so on and so forth. But I could rely on this opinion was brought, and the reason for his want, and then he would need to justify it as well, not because he just feels like it. And that's, you're creating a continuity between the Gemara to the Rishonim, through the Acharonim, through the Shulchan Aruch, and recent poskim to your own actions. And therefore, all of a sudden, the halacha and limud Torah by itself is not just some kind of an esoteric topic that you learn, but becomes a living entity for you in which you walk by the words of Torah because you understand what you're doing. Understanding what you're doing is very important. You need to understand why you do things. That's why I keep telling you 1,000,000 times. Your job is to ask questions. And when you're not asking questions, you're not doing your job. You need to ask questions. Asking questions is an indication of a thought process of I'm thinking about something, and questions arise. It's a natural effect of thinking about it. If you don't have any halachic questions, means you didn't really think about Torah throughout the day. Or you don't have any questions about, I don't care what it is, Esav and Malachim, I don't know what. Means that this is not really something that you indulge with or involved in self-negotiation internally as well. And it's a very poor state of events or state of the union to you, if I may say, that you're not thinking about Torah. That's why you have to have questions. And the questions, it's perfectly fine to have a little, today you have telephones, so you put your note on the telephone and you ask a question, or if you want to take a piece of paper, write your questions and go along through it, That's beautiful. That's also part of learning to implicate questions that you have, clear in the way, so you'll have a better understanding of what you do. This all comes from the very beginning, your attitude towards learning Gemara. Are you learning the Gemara just so you could turn the page, or are you learning Gemara because you really want to understand what is going on here? That could be to any particular topic, not something just that is lehalacha. Even if we're talking about zvachim and korbanot and so on and so forth. Again, you can apply one behavior, and then in a different scenario, you're going to apply a different behavior. These are acquired habits. And you need to develop your own internal depth, and this is how you do that. That's how you elevate your learning to a different level. Daf Yomi is a good thing. Daf Yomi comes to give you broad knowledge, so when you're actually learning deep, you cover the long. You need to create a balance. You can't just go deep, and you can't just go wide. You need to have a balance between the two. So, but you can't go deep if you don't have broad knowledge. Okay? So, yes, I know Sinai and Okerarim and so on and so forth, right? But you need to have both of them. Now, it says like this. And more than that, furthermore, writes the Chazon Ish, Ta'ayen ba'poskin. You have to look, Tur, Bet Yosef, Shulchan Aruch, V'noseh Kelem. When you learn the halakha, don't just learn the halakha. Okay, Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, Yalkut Yosef. Not only Yalkut Yosef, Kitzur Shulchan Aruch of the Yalkut Yosef. No, זה לא הולך ככה. Learn Tur, Bet Yosef. The best chavruta one can get to himself is to sit down and learn with the Bet Yosef. It's terrific. So look at the halakha. עיון ההלכה. Looking deep. כי הם מרחיבים את גופי ההלכות לפקוח עיניים ולפתוח את הלב ולענג את הנפש. He says something here very interesting. He says, when you learn in such a way, in such a method, it opens your eyes, it opens your heart, ולענג את הנפש. לענג את הנפש, לענג את הנפש, one might say it's to cause pleasure to your soul. But I will tell you something else. לענג, it should refine. It would refine your soul as well. Not only to give you pleasure. Yes, he would, because you understand. There's nothing better than saying, I know Kung Fu. I understand. You know, I understand that. You feel great. It's a tremendous release of dopamines to your head. I don't know, at least to my head, when I understand something. I didn't know I was in fog, and all of a sudden you get like, wow, I understand. Wow, it feels great. I feel human. So, but here, le'aneg et hanefesh, this kind of learning would also refine your soul. So you learn from here something very important. Ignorance will do the opposite to you. Would leave your soul in a brute state. En lecha nefesh adina, me'uneget, like gentle. He says, she'af le'achar limud ha'gemara ka'oi, even after you learn the Gemara appropriately, when you learn the halacha, Tur, Bet Yosef, and so on and so forth, roim, we could see that there are many other details that we can learn from the Gemara, and you didn't pay attention to. And the fact that you, umizeh, by doing so, you acquire yourself a way to reach the halacha, libirur halacha be'emet. When you basically acquiring tools to reach to the bottom of things, to reach to the truth, and to actually understand the halacha. So that's why I said to you, when you acquiring good habits, those good habits would manifest themselves to everything in your life. If this is how you learn the Gemara, if this is how you learn the halacha, you get down to the bottom of things in everything else that you do in your life. Of course, that's a wonderful way to live life. But when you like to smear, spackle on everything and just cover things up, well, that's how your life would look like. This is how learning affects the person. Now you might understand the famous question they keep asking me, how can people learn Torah and act like this? Because that's how they learn also. See, he agrees with me. And he says, ישנם מפלפלים בסברות ובהגדרות לברר אם זה יסוד של ההלכה או לא. There are many people who, hey, what happened to your head? This is reverse. I don't know. There are many people who would contemplate on many different opinions or different definitions, and so on and so forth. He says, yes, it's going to sharpen your brain. וזהו דרך לימוד ההלכה, and that's the way to learn הלכה. אבל את ההלכה עצמם אינם יודעים. והרי יש מצוות שמי שלא קיימם כראוי על בוריים כאילו לא עשאם. There are certain mitzvot, if you did them appropriately, it's like you didn't do them at all. So learning like, okay, the chidush here and this chidush there and so on and so forth, that's very nice. But the bottom line, do you know the halakha? You don't know the halakha. You can argue with me about this, or you can argue about this, and this rabbi said that, and that rabbi said the other, and this rabbi disagreed with this one, would agree with this one, and so on and so forth. That's very good, very good. Excuse me, the bottom line. What's the halakha? Do you know the halakha? You don't know the halakha. You don't know the halakha? Okay, what's the point? Yes, it will make your mind sharp. This engaging in this intellectual, I don't know.
Hair-splitting arguments.
Say?
Hair-splitting arguments.
Hair-splitting arguments. Okay, I like that one. But even better than that, it's like, okay, I won't use this term. It's X-rated. But you know what I'm saying, right? But the bottom line, do you know the halakha, or you don't know the halakha? You don't know the halakha. So what's the point? becomes pointless. In other words, the limud that you're learning should bring you to a certain result. Just to learn things in the air, we're not at that level yet. Even for the people who learn, let's say zvachim, sacrifices, and so on and so forth. And a person that learns that because he really at that level, for him is a real thing. If a person learns it because he wants to show off, for him is as dead as anything else. So there's no such thing as I'm learning things up in the air. A person that really learns even those topics the way it should be learned, it will open up a whole spiritual world to him, that in that world those things exist. So he would pray like this and so on and so forth and on and on and on, and live his life on a different level. And would not try to cut corners. He'll live his kashrut, he will understand what the kashrut is all about, his kashrut standard will be different, and so on and so forth, without getting too much into it. But so therefore, anything that we learn should lead us to some kind of an action. Otherwise, it's just up in the air. And the only thing that goes up in the air is bubbles. Bubbles. They're called Migdal Babels. The Tower of Bubbles. You're building up, I really mean that. You're building up a whole entire based on nothing. And then you crash down. You need to anchor it down, and you need to be reach out to it. Migdal v'rosho b'shamayim, a tower and its head in the heavens. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, Lo b'shamayim hi. It's not in the heavens. The Torah that I give you is here. You need to be able to react to it, not in the heavens. And it says, therefore, yesh lasim dagesh al limud halacha atzma. A person must learn the halacha. It's not enough that you're just learning the Gemara. At the end of every amud, or so on and so forth, or if you, as they say, reach the 2 dots, go back to the end mishpat. See what the halacha says about it. You have to. Because then you learn how to connect one to the other. And it says, "V'lilmod Rambam," and to learn the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch le'at uledagdeg bechol milah midivrehem. You have to learn the words of the Rambam and the word of the Shulchan Aruch very, very carefully, because we did see many times how changing of one word or changing of one letter in the Shulchan Aruch could have a tremendous nafkamina. And you learn tremendous things from it. Because if he add a vav, it could mean that lechatchila no b'diavad, and so on and so forth, without getting into this. In other words, Rabotai, the best way to learn halacha is la'asokei shmateta aliva d'ilchata. That's, by the way, the old Sephardic way, which is not popular anymore in any yeshivot, including all the Sephardic yeshivot that are completely Ashkenazified themselves. At the end of any Gemara, you learn the Gemara with the end in mind. And the end in mind is the halacha. What the Ashkenazi call the geschmack of the learning, the sweetness of the learning, is not building buildings up in the air. It's actually reaching down and grabbing something. So at least you have something in your pocket. And it doesn't take a long time. Why are you rushing with this? Be serious in what you do. Most people, you should know, are not good in anything in their lives, besides wasting time and wasting their lives. Most people. Your job is to be good at least at something. To be an expert in something. Be an expert. It was a tremendous way to live your life. Very proud of it. A person could be an expert in molecular chemistry or whatever it is, and a person could be an expert in Eruvin. Building Eruv can save people. You think only molecules and chemistry and physics and medicine, that's the only thing that saves people? Yeah, in this world. But if you become an expert in Eruv, arguments in Eruvin, and you're able to solve complex concepts or complex problems, you're saving people in Olam Haba. or you become an expert in, you can mix both worlds. You can become an expert in biology and chemistry and become a big posek that understands the things, and you're able to answer questions between, I don't know, all of a sudden genetic modification and on and on and on. And you're saving people as well. But you got to become an expert in something. You got to be therefore serious. You can't be a bum. Most people want to be very superficial, and they are, and they stayed. It's very, very superficial. That's not in it. That doesn't do it anymore. And it should be absolutely unacceptable to you to become superficial. Be serious in something means you're going to be serious in everything you do. And I'll give you an example. Take an athlete or a fighter who goes to a fight. Let's say he has a fight 6 months down the road. So first of all, he has a fight 6 months down the road. His seriousness in training started probably 10 years ago, if not more. And he had to be serious for 10 years, if not more, to reach the goal, to come to the main event. I don't know, UFC main event, he has to practice 10 years, if not more. And that means to be in a tough regime every single day. That everything that you do is geared towards that. In the middle, you can't say, okay, but I have babies now, so I can't do this, or I want to do this, I want to do. You're never going to reach that level of mastery. And if you're already there and you have a battle, 6 months, you're going to eat a certain way and sleep a certain way and exercise in a certain way, and you engage in this kind of a lifestyle, and you disengage with that kind of a lifestyle. That's the bottom line. You want an example? I'll give you an example. Take Holly Holmes and what's the name of the other girl? Ronda Rousey, right? Ronda Rousey is a great fighter, but what happened to her? She was busy making, yes, I understand her need to tap into glory and fame because that fighting scene is short-lived. I understand, but you can't be a champion like that. You can't go do movies and have a boyfriend and do all these things while you are preparing for how do you call this? Belt fight. I don't know, whatever you call this. Championship fight. The other girl, look at the interview that she gave. She says, she practiced every day for that. From the moment she entered UFC was to beat this girl. So she just did it all along. And there are cries and there are tears and there are agony and there are pain and so on and so forth, and you gotta keep yourself through it. And lehavdil elef alfei avdot, the same thing for you. If it's for fighting, you can do that. To fight against Yetzer Hara like this, Rabotai, when you learn Torah, you're fighting death. Because you're only alive when you learn Torah. When you're learning, you're fighting death. Because that's considered to be life. Other than that, it's not life, it's death. You go to college, that's death. You go to work, that's death. You learn Torah, that's life. You understand what I'm saying to you? And you got to be serious about it. You got to be serious about it. You got to be so dead serious about it. And that, of course, will change the way you dress and the way you act and the way you talk and the way you eat and the way you do everything. Because this is your fight. You got to live your life knowing that death is always right there next to you. Death is always around the corner for you. And death is waiting for the permission to take you away. And you got to acknowledge that. If you're going to acknowledge that you could die at any given moment, well, I don't think you're going to waste your life. If you're going to have 1 week to live, you're not going to live your life the way you live. You're not going to go to college. You're not going to go there. You're not going to do all these things. You're going to have a week, or a month to live, a year to live. Because somebody's going to tell you, listen, you have only 10 years. 10 years is a long time. 10 years to live. 10 years will be, let's say, from what? From 4th grade to 2nd year in college. That's 10 years. It's a long time, isn't it? Are you going to live your life the same way? You have 10 years to live. From today, 10 years to live. Are you going to live your life the same way? You know you're going there. You know you're going there. You know you're going there. I'm going to tell you even more. So 10 years. So is it scary to think that you have 10 years to live? Is it scary to think so? Yeah, I'll tell you what's more scary. That you know that you can live this world and basically die in every given moment, and you're not getting ready for it because you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen when you die. You know it. And what are you doing for it? Absolutely nothing. I don't know about you, but that's, as far as I'm concerned, pretty darn crazy. You don't have time to play around. You don't have time to play around. You don't have any time to waste your life in vain. So even more so when you're already here learning. Learn like there is a volcano about to erupt, like you're possessed. Learn with all your koach. That's your medicine. That's your life. Not only your life is dependent on it. This is your life. Have a good day.